In a time when Britain's civil servants go on a strike, causing the closure of most of the schools in the country and higher student fees, the British government faces other obstacles for students coming out of university, and that's more competition. Largest employers now receive an average of 83 CVs for each single vacancy, with some top companies inundated by as many as 150 applications per job. Figures before the global economic crisis 3 years ago showed the same employers receiving 31 applications for each vacancy. Starting salary for graduates has increased by 2% since last year. Graduates say this has caused more competition, making it difficult to get a job. Do you see this war as being dangerous to the entire Middle East and North African region?
This conflict, which arose because of the suppression of legitimate political protest.
Permanent member of the UN Security Council, China refrained from using its veto power in the UN resolution vote on the no-fly zone. Is there anything China can do to bring about positive change, or is this generally a Western-enforced plan on Libya?
Well, it might be into a new year, but today's feedback shows that Palestine is still very much on everyone's mind, although we have close correspondence on the issue of the illegal settlers for the time being. The agenda show on Interpal's crisis focused everyone's attention. Safi Ahmad from King's College in London said the show prompted him to send letters of complaint to the Islamic Bank of Britain and to Lloyd's TSB after hearing how Interpal's bank account was threatened with closure without explanation. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm joined by Abbas Edalat, Professor at Imperial College of London and a political activist. He's also the founder of Kazmi, a campaign against sanctions and military intervention in Iran. We've also with us Stephen Pfeiffer, a senior fellow of the Brookings Institute in Washington. He was also a former ambassador to Ukraine, and his career as Foreign Service officer centered on the former Soviet Union and arms control pressure on the country. But Israel, on the other hand, hasn't signed the treaty and is known to have 400 thermonuclear weapons, and furthermore, the Zionist government has started wars in the region. If the Iranian government is complying with international law, why is the West mounting pressure on Iran? And in this case, shouldn't the NPT take a stronger approach in its engagement with Israel?
Well, I think that could be one of the outcomes, hopefully, of this reviewed conference, where
weapons of mass destruction there are in the world. North Korea has 10. India has 80. France has 300. The US has 9,400 in its stockpile.
Helping orphan children in the war-torn countries of Iraq, Afghanistan and Palestine. While some children are living happily in the comfort of their homes, surrounded by their families, others are less fortunate, having lost families and homes in ongoing wars. To help these children, a charity called the Lady Fatima Trust raises funds to provide food, clothing and even a little treat on Eid. Furthermore, the charity tries to create a loving home for the orphans. The event will include guest appearances from human rights activist and Press TV journalist Lauren Booth, who recently embraced Islam, Rizwan Hussain, a barrister and television presenter, Dr. Aung Sui Chai, international humanitarian worker and author. Is the world's best-known conflict, but the least well-known humanitarian crisis. So we're here to learn more about what's really going on and how people can help. About the aid that they're sending across to the people, the causes.
Right. What I really like about what he's doing is, in fact, his ability to spend very little but get big results. So he's not giving a lot of money to one cause, and I think that's a very, very good thing.
It is taking place in Gabon, where several protests took place by public suspicion of Africa. Some 30 African divisions are reportedly taking the training, along with delegations from the African Union and the Economic Community of West African States. Are they really just protecting their own interests then, in that case?
That has everything to do with why AFRICOM exists and why it's there. Fortunately, the world has evolved to a point where raw, naked imperialism is no longer acceptable.
I went to Kensington today to find out what people think about governments funding terrorist organizations, and this is what we found. Now, what would you think, for example, if the government is funding terrorist groups?
Oh, I'm sure they are, because governments have an agenda.
Too happy about their taxes being spent on terror. But a few people weren't too surprised either.
خب آیا میتونیم بگیم که حکومت قذافی الان در واقع از بین رفته یا نه؟
طبیعتاً از بین خواهد رفت. یعنی در چیزها با هم به توافق رسیدن، ولی باز آینده مبهم هست.
خب در واقع بگم که هیچ کدومشون از احزاب حاکم بر آمریکا در چه گذشته.
امیدوارم که برنامه مورد توجه شما قرار گرفته باشه. تا برنامه دیگر، خدا نگهدار شما.